we're going to be doing some good down-home cooking, what I consider to be just a true Southern meal. We're going to be eating this for supper. I call it supper. Some people call it dinner. Nana calls the dinner her lunch meal. Most restaurants call dinner their supper meal, but whatever meal you decide to serve this food at, I promise you it'll be good. Today we're going to be doing Chris's collard greens and fresh rutabagas and fried turnips. The collards and the turnips come straight out of our garden. We're also going to be doing a fried salmon patty and one of Mr. Pope's childhood favorite desserts, pistachio pudding or Watergate salad. So come on, let's go out to the garden and let's pick our stuff for our meal. All right, we're out here at our little collard patch. We have a few collards left over for the season. This bed was pretty full, but we've been eating off of it all season. These are a Georgia collard variety. Collards can tend to get to be real big leafed. These we've not let grow big because we planted them in so close, and they're kind of more tender when you let them get cooked when they're at a smaller stage. So we're going to go ahead and cut a cooking for today, and we just go in typically and just kind of snip our leaves. Chris just breaks his off, but I cut mine off, and we've not had a whole lot of insect damage from them this year. And just as soon as these come out of here, I've got some already started in the greenhouse that'll be replanted out here, so we'll have them to fill back in. So we'll cut a good cutting, and then we'll take them inside and we'll wash them, and we'll show you how we prepare them and get them ready to cook. Also got to get the turnips pulled because we're going to do a fried turnip today. As you can see, the bed is almost done. There's only a very few of the turnips left. But today we'll be frying up the turnips, so Chris is going to go ahead and pull them. A lot of people eat the greens off the turnips. We don't. We just eat the turnip root. Look how pretty that is. It's nice and pretty and big. And the way we cut them, it doesn't take a whole lot to, it doesn't take a whole lot of turnips. Mr. Gimp hand there, but it doesn't take a whole lot of turnips to fry up a mess, basically. And this is just a pretty white turnip. We've been using them very sparingly because we love them, and I just hate to see them be done for the season, but there's a few more down there. All right, and we're going to just take these greens to the chickens, and then we're going to take those inside.
These to the goats.
Oh, excuse me, he's giving those to the goats. Y'all see how wet it is out here. The chickens are about underwater and the goats are about underwater. It's so squishy out here. We've had so much rain. But anyway, we're going to take the greens inside. Take the tops inside. Take the tops and give them to the animals. I'll get it right in a minute. And then take the roots and fry them up here in just a minute. So we will be right back. Harvested all of the collards and we washed them with cold water, and I'm going to show you up close how I prep these. Now Chris is typically the collard cooker in the house. Everywhere we go and every time he cooks his collards, everybody wants to know how he does them. So with his hand being messed up, I'm going to prep them, and then I'm going to film him telling you how he seasons them. So if you'll come on over here and get up real close, I'll show you how we cut them. And everybody does this a little bit different. You can actually buy collards now that are pre-washed and pre-cut. There's a couple of farms around here. Baker's Farm's one of them that grows them, and they have them pre-cut and pre-washed. So that's a good avenue for you if you don't want to do this step. But this vein right here is a little bit hard. So what I do is I just take my sharp knife and I cut the vein out of them. And then I do a stack of these. Let me show you. So we'll do a stack of several. But like I said, we just cut the vein out. And once you get several leaves stacked up, then we do a roll and cut. We have grown collards all sizes. One year we had them that was half as tall as me, but I tend to like these smaller ones better. But anyway, after you get your 3 or 4 leaves cut, I just take them and stack them up, and then I roll them into a roll, and then I cut them about 1/2 inch wide. like this. And then we'll cut all these and we'll put them in a stock pot. For the collards, it takes a pretty big stock pot because it requires a lot of juice. So I'm gonna finish cutting these and getting them prepped and getting them ready for Chris, and we'll see you back in just a minute. All right, welcome back. As you can see, we've got all of the collards cut up, and it takes, like I told you, a pretty big stock pot to get all the collards cut up because they expand a good bit, but they'll cook down and you'll be surprised how little they'll cook down too. And then we keep all these stems right here because some animal's gonna eat it. We try not to waste anything here on the farm. But anyway, next I'm gonna talk to you about rutabagas. This is pretty much a classic rutabaga. This is about a medium size. They come in smaller sizes, which if you're older or have trouble cutting, a smaller size would be a little bit easier to handle, and then they come in a larger size. The larger size is a bear to try to cut. A rutabaga is a root vegetable, and it is probably, to me, the hardest of the root vegetables. So it's kind of tough to peel. When you grow them yourself, they won't have like a waxy coating like they have, this one here has. The produce people put a waxy coating on them to help keep them stable longer. So you can see I'm just kind of pushing that off with my thumb, but you won't eat any of that. But it kind of preserves it a little bit and keeps it more stable for shelf life. So what I do with my rutabagas is I peel them first. I just take a potato peeler and I peel them. And then it's a beautiful, beautiful flesh, almost looks like a potato. But like I said, it is hard, hard, hard. It's hard to peel and it's extremely hard to cut. But I never really appreciated the taste of a rutabaga until I became an adult. And if you run across a rutabaga, to me, if some people don't know how to cook them, they have an extremely kind of a harsh smell. The way Chris and I prepare ours, they do not have that smell, but in some restaurants and some places you will notice they have a very harsh kind of a smell that if you cook them right and you cook them down long enough, they don't have that smell. But anyway, so I just kind of go around with my potato peeler, and just please be very careful when you're dealing with rutabagas because like I said, they're hard to peel and they're hard to cut. A lot of people peel them with a knife, but I just found that it's easier to peel with a potato peeler. And then these are the two ends, and they're a little bit harder to deal with, but not too bad if you have a really good sharp potato peeler. So just go ahead and get all the peel off. And like I said, when you take the peel off, it takes the wax off as well, so you don't have to worry about ingesting any of that. And we're gonna set all these aside because like I said, we have animals to feed and they'll eat all of that. And then I'm gonna flip my board over just that way it'll get rid of some of that wax. Wipe my hands, that's why I wear my handy dandy apron. But anyway, like I said, this is a medium size rutabaga, and this is an extremely sharp knife, but you'll see just how hard it is to kind of penetrate. And it looks like it's the consistency of a potato, but it is nowhere near the consistency of a potato. So please don't let a child attempt to do this. But I kind of score it, and then I go in on one side and kind of cut down and just kind of keep wrapping it around until I at least get it cut in half. When Chris is not injured, this is typically his job. But you see how hard it is to even get through it. And you could very, 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 very easily have a kitchen accident dealing with a rutabaga. Now Chris has a knife. Let me show you this knife. This knife. And this is what he does. What is this called? An Alaskan knife or something like that. But this is what he cuts a lot of his stuff with. But you have to be used to using that, or you'll get yourself in trouble too with that. And I'm not super handy with that. But anyway, you see how long that took to cut that open? It's extremely hard. We have actually washed our turnips off. I know it don't look like it, but we have. So we're going to do the same thing to the turnips that we did to the rutabagas, and we're just going to lightly peel them. This is a very, very soft vegetable, so if you bear down very hard, you're going to cut a big chunk of your turnip. You see how much softer that is than a rutabaga? So we're going to go ahead and we're going to peel the turnips. Now, Chris and his mom do these two different ways. Chris does his a little on the thicker side. And his mama fries hers up super, super thin. Kind of like a potato chip. And if you've never had a fried turnip root, I'm telling you, you need to try it. I've never had one until I married him. And grew some one year. And they started talking about it, and I was like, what? A fried turnip? I had never heard of it. Nobody at work's ever heard of it either. So I'm telling you, this is definitely a recipe that you need to try. But anyway, we're gonna go ahead. I'm gonna cut this big top off right here because it's kind of hard. But see how soft that is? It's like butter. I mean, it's just so, so soft. All right, we're gonna use a mandolin. A mandolin's about the easiest way to do this. So put your vegetable down on your mandolin. This holds it in place so you don't cut your fingers, and just rake it across there. And it's gonna do like real fine little potato chip. That's the size you want, right?
Mm-hmm.
Chris says yes, that's the size he wants. Anyway, a mandolin slicer can be very dangerous, so definitely don't let kids get a hold of it. And if you don't use this thing to stop to do the slices, it will cut your fingers. I have been cut numerous times before. But anyway, we're going to finish cutting up the turnips, and then we'll be back in just a minute to show you how we're going to fry up the turnips. They'll be the last thing that we'll do because they'll have to come out of the grease last. But we're going to go ahead and get our collards and our rutabagas seasoned up, and so we'll see you back in just a minute. All right, we are back with Chris, and he is going to tell us how he seasons his rutabagas and his collard greens. We're going to go over some of the ingredients real quick. He has a smoked or cured meat of some sort. This happens to be a cured ham, but you can use neck bone. You can use any kind of a seasoned meat. He has prepared some of his garlic. He uses about how much in each one?
I use 3 cloves in the collards and 2 cloves in the rutabagas.
All right, and you see he's got those just rough chopped. All right, and then we're going to move on around.
All right. I have 4 pecans whole that I put in here. 1/3 of a cup.
All right, tell them why you put the pecans in there. What's the old wives' tale?
The old wives' tale is the pecans help reduce the smell in the house. It keeps it from stinking the house up.
And y'all, it works. I'm telling you, I've never heard that until I married him, but it really does work.
Chicken broth.
Y'all, we
I
have talked
use
to you.
a third of a cup of chicken broth.
1/3 of the cup of the granules.
Yeah.
Okay, I've talked to y'all numerous times about these granules that we use. You can get them on Amazon, but you can use any chicken base, or you can make your own chicken stock, or you can use a chicken stock. We just happen to use these in all our vegetables because it gives a good salty, chickeny flavor. It really cuts down on the amount of salt that you have to add in things. But like I said, you can use a pre-made chicken broth, or you can use a chicken broth that you have from some chicken. And he's stirring that up real good to get it
real good
dissolved, and he's putting it in his collards. Don't those collards look fantastic?
Black pepper, and I don't measure
To taste.
to taste. I taste after I get to cooking.
All right, and let me tell him something about the pepper. Typically we use a whole peppercorn and we grind it, but with his little injury, his little farm accident, it's a little hard for him to do it with that salt and pepper grinder, so he's just having to use the old-fashioned way.
About a pinch of salt.
Well, that's a little bit more than a pinch, honey.
That's old wives' way of pinch.
And that'll cook down.
And that'll cook down. All that'll dissolve. Sugar. What a lot of people don't know about collards, they got a bitter taste to them if they don't have a lot of cold weather. We've had the cold weather, but I like them with a little bit more of a sweeter taste. As you can tell, I've got about 1/4 of a cup of sugar. And I'll put to sight the sugar in there. Then I put the cured meat. Usually put 3 pieces.
And he's going to put that in his rutabagas and his
And
collards.
I'll put it in the rutabagas and the collard. Get it all stirred up.
And he's got to add his garlic. Let me reach his garlic for him.
And then This was a whole clove. I crushed it, cut it.
Just kind of minced it.
Kind of minced it. Wife said I couldn't do it with a gimp hand, but I did it anyway. And that's the collards.
All right, now we're going to go on over here, and he's going to tell us about how he seasons up his rutabagas.
The rutabagas, 1/3 of the cup of the granular with hot water, which makes it break down easier.
If you don't do it with hot water, it really doesn't break down, and it can scorch on the bottom of your pans using these granules. But now if you're using regular chicken stock or chicken broth, you know, you don't have to do that. But we love these things. I should probably own stock in it because we use it for all our vegetables.
As you can tell, we've already got water in it. So I'll add this to the water and the rutabagas.
And that doesn't need a lot of salt because that chicken base already has salt in it, and then your meat has salt in it.
3 pieces of the meat. Black pepper, about that much. Or it can be more.
About that much. Or to taste.
A little bit more of salt because they will absorb some of the salt. When I did this, she thought I was crazy. Sugar. Rutabagas, they've got a bland taste to them. Sometimes they've got a bitter taste to them. If you'll add a little bit of sugar, it'll make them a little bit sweeter.
Helps cut it a little bit.
Then I put in my garlic. And they're good to go. We're gonna put the top on them, let them boil, let them get soft. You can tell when they start to get ready, they'll be soft like a potato.
But they take a lot longer than a potato.
But they take a lot longer than a potato.
It takes about 4 times as long as a potato. So it takes, you could literally cook these probably for about an hour, just at a slow.
The longer they sit in the meat, the more they're gonna absorb the meat taste and the flavors. So if you start them out in the morning time and eat them at night, it's gonna be a whole lot better. We're gonna let this cook, come back to you, show you what the finished product is.
And I was going to show you one thing too. We have cut up the turnips, and I have them soaking in some cold water for 2 reasons. Number one, it pulls the starch out, and it'll make them crunchier if you're doing the real thin version. But like I said, you can do them thicker, as thick as you would a fried squash, or a little bit thicker like a tomato. We're not going to bread these, but you can even bread them. You can do them like you do a little cornstarch, a little flour, an egg and milk mixture. Dip them in your egg and milk, and dip them in your flour, cornstarch mixture, and fry them. But we're just going to straight fry these like a chip almost. So Chris is finishing up, and we will be back shortly once these cook down and get going on the salmon patties. So we'll see you back in a minute.
Ready.
All right, welcome back. We're going to go ahead and start our salmon patties. Everything else is going on the stove. The rutabagas are almost done. The collards are almost done. The cornbread's fixing to go in the oven. We got a dessert already in the refrigerator. So the only thing we got left to do is fry up the turnips and do the salmon patties. The turnips will be the very last thing that we fry up. But anyway, I make my salmon patties like my mom always did. I take a can of pink salmon, and this does have bones in it. Some people are kind of freaked out about that, but I'm not, because I just picked the bones out. The bones truly are so soft that if you even don't get them out, it really don't make any difference, because by the time they're cooked, they disintegrate. But anyway, to a can of salmon with the salmon juice in there, I just kind of pinch it up, kind of get it a smaller consistency. And then I take a couple of heaping tablespoons of cornmeal. And you can use any kind of a cornmeal. This is kind of what we use here in the South. It's called Arnett's. Real cornmeal, not self-rising cornmeal, but real cornmeal. And then we're going to take a couple of tablespoons of flour as well. Just a couple of heaping tablespoons. We've got a flour in there. But anyway, And if it's too dry, then you can actually add some liquid to it. You can add milk, you can add a little bit of water, because sometimes the juice for your salmon will be off a little bit. And then we're gonna do 1 egg. This is our eggs from our chickens. Just gonna crack 1 egg into there. All right, then we're gonna mix all of this up. And it gets kind of a thick consistency. And like I said, you just have to play with it depending on how much juice is in your salmon. But you want it to be thick but not dry, if that makes sense. I'm gonna get all of that mixed up good. And actually, I think that's gonna come to a pretty good consistency. Some people do their salmon patties in big balls. Some people do their salmon patties in a flat patty. I do mine kind of more like a hush puppy. Drop it in my oil. Let me go ahead and get my oil ready. Turn on my grease real quick. Takes a minute for the oil to heat up. We're gonna go ahead and finish mixing these up good. Just make sure you incorporate all the flour and all the cornmeal good, so you don't have any dry spots. And for those of you who don't know what a hush puppy is, you just got to look it up, I guess. I just got to thinking about that. Some of you may not even know what a hush puppy is. I'm from the South. Everybody knows what a hush puppy is, but some people may not. How would you describe a hush puppy to somebody that has never heard of a hush puppy? Just a
round ball.
A small walnut-sized ball. How about that? But anyway, that's the consistency you want, because you want it to hold together. You don't want it too loose, but you want it to be able to hold together when you put it in your pan, okay? So, we're also gonna add some pepper to taste and salt to taste. Salmon patties are eaten a million different ways. I love mine with mustard, dipped in mustard. All right, and there goes our timer for our muffins. I'm just doing a real quick cornbread muffin. So we'll stick these in the oven. Set our timer for that. Wait on our grease to get a little bit hot. We're gonna bring this over here. Get ready. Once your salmon patties are finished frying, you're gonna turn them out on a paper towel lined plate so they can drain. Let me get my rag and I'll show you what the rutabagas and the collards are looking like so far. It's kind of hot, so be careful, but the rutabagas have been boiling away. Those are actually probably about done. You want me to turn them off?
Yeah.
Alright, so turn those off and let them sit there for a little bit. And then here is the collards, and they are boiling away and they're about done. By the time we get through with the salmon patties and the turnips, they'll be done.
So when you put the salt and the pepper in there with a twist shaker,
Yep.
do you have to put the little pinky out?
You have to put the pinky out. I didn't even notice I did that. Did I do that? It's like you're drinking wine or something, I guess, in the South, huh?
So that's a high class.
It's a high class salt and pepper
It's a high class salt and pepper shaker.
Yeah. All right.
So why are you doing that right there?
The
now?
grease is not quite ready. What you'll do is you'll put a little bit of your flour or your cornmeal in there, and that'll tell you when your grease is ready. Unless you want to use a thermometer, which we don't in the South. We go by how does it feel, how does it look, how does it sound. Is it about ready yet? It's getting there. And of course you notice I'm using my cast iron skillet. Every good cook in the South has to have a cast iron skillet. And I think we're at the point where we probably have everything that is made cast iron, right? Can you think of any pieces that we don't have, Chris?
No, because what was that I got you the other day?
A cake pan.
You'll have to show them.
Yeah, it's a cake pan. We're actually doing a little building outside for all my dishes and all my stuff. And all right, you hear that popping? So it's getting there. Chris says we can't call it a she shed, so we're calling it a we shed, but it's for me. It's mine. But anyway, we're actually putting 2 walls in there that we come up with the idea to put 2 walls in there to hold up all my cast iron. Because I think Chris is a little tired of it being stuck in a corner, stuck in a drawer, stuck in the oven, stuck in the microwave, right?
It's kind of hard to get out of the microwave with one hand.
But anyway, we're gonna do them in little balls about this big, and we're gonna drop them in. That still probably needs to cook a little bit longer. That may be picking up some moisture in the pan. That may be why it's popping like that. But if you get real close into it, you can see it just starting to fry up a little bit. Right. And you don't want to put too many in your pan because it will cool your grease down. And everything that you fry pops, so be careful. And if you fry stuff, you know what I mean by pop, because it does. Right, so we're going to add a few more. Those of you who follow me on different forms of social media know that Chris has been home for a while. I love getting in the kitchen cooking with him. He may not love it, but I do. I love the days when we cook together, and when we do our go lives, we actually have better participation the days that he's on with me, so it's good to have him at home. He is very ready to go back to work, right?
Oh, past ready.
That's ready. But anyway, get a close up of that and see those how they're bubbling. They're bubbling away. So anyway, we're going to finish adding our little balls into our grease. And it doesn't take long for these to cook up. You'll see them start to turn dark on one side. When you see them start to turn dark on one side, you'll flip them to the other side. And then when you flip them to the other side and they get brown, they're done. And that's all there is to a salmon patty. And then we'll take them out and we'll drain them on our plate that's lined with paper towels. Is this the way your mama makes her salmon patties? Do you know?
Mama didn't make salmon patties. Granny Pope did.
Well, how did Granny Pope make them? Do you remember? Did she make them in a patty form or did she make them in a ball form?
Patty form.
In a patty form. That's the way a lot of people do. My mama just made them like this, so that's kind of what I was used to. Let's see, this is the first one we put in. I don't think it's quite ready to be turned. Nope. So anyway, we're gonna cut to a break real quick, and when we come back, these should be ready to be taken out and for a second batch to come in, and we're gonna finish up. Be back shortly. The salmon patties are almost finished. As you can see, they're a deep, dark golden brown. When they turn that color, you know they're ready. And we're just gonna turn them out on a lined, paper towel lined plate. And those are ready to go. And then Chris is gonna do his turnips in the same grease. And they will be popping because they are full of water. He actually turned them out on a baking sheet, and I'm gonna turn your grease down a little bit. But he turned them out on a baking sheet over here, and we kind of just went through and patted them dry. And I think that's my muffins. But anyway, Chris is gonna go ahead and start on frying. Let me take this out real quick. The muffins are ready. And then he can start on that. Here's some beautiful golden cornbread muffins. My sister-in-law has to have cornbread with her rutabagas. All right, Chris, I'm gonna switch the camera with you and get you to filming. Get you to, and like I said, these are full of water, so they will definitely pop. On the collards and the rutabagas to finish cooking off, I'm gonna go ahead and start dessert so it can get put in the refrigerator, because this is one of these desserts that the longer it sets, the better it tastes. Like I said earlier, this was one of Chris's favorite childhood desserts. He told me his mom used to kind of keep it made and keep it in the refrigerator all the time. Well, those of you that know me know that I like to take pretty classic recipes and kind of put a twist on them. So that's what I've done with this one today. We call it pistachio salad, but a lot of people call it Watergate salad. And it is one of the easiest, simplest, but best tasting desserts that you can make, but it's not low fat and it's not low sugar. So everything in moderation, right? The first thing that you're going to do is you're going to take 2 boxes of pistachio jello instant pudding. So it needs to be the instant pudding. You're going to take 2 boxes of that and we're going to put them in our mixing bowl. And it looks kind of funny. It's a funny color because it's got kind of chopped up pistachios in there. Put a 20-ounce can of crushed pineapple in there. And these 2 ingredients, of course, are your classic pistachio pudding recipe ingredients, but we're fixing to twist it up just a little bit. Listen to me saying fixing. I'm from the South, y'all. We're about to. How's that? All right, so that is a classic ingredient, and your crushed pineapple is a classic ingredient. All right, now typically you just want to blend these 2 up, and that is the base. But because we're going to mix it up a little bit, we're going to use an 8-ounce container of cream cheese. I like the whipped cream cheese because you really don't have to worry about softening it up, and it mixes a lot better. Now, pistachio salad is very, very, very sweet. And so using the cream cheese will just cut some of that sweetness. And if you use the whipped version, you don't have to use the whipped version, but if you use the whipped version, it keeps it a little bit lighter. You can just get all of this mixed up, and this is where your beautiful green pistachio color comes from. But on our twist, it doesn't end up quite so green. All right, so I'm just going to take this real quick, and I'm going to use my blender over here. Just going to blend it up just a little bit. So sorry for the noise, but we're going to just blend it up a little bit. And that'll help keep it nice and fluffy as well. If you come over here, you can see how it's blending up real good. Sorry for the noise. And it blends up real well, nice and fluffy. You really can't tell the cream cheese is in there. It's not changed the consistency so far at this point. All right. That's all of that. I'm just going to knock our beaters off a little bit. Stick those in the sink. Now, I've even seen it done with several other ingredients, like a shredded coconut added at this point, but Mr. Pope would not eat it if it had coconut in it. That is probably his least favorite food. So that's our first twist, is adding a whipped cream cheese. And then we're going to add a small 8-ounce container of Cool Whip that is thawed. The Cool Whip you kind of want to fold in instead of mixing with a mixer because you don't want it to deflate. You want this salad to be so nice and fluffy. And if you stir it with a mixer, it does kind of deflate it a little bit. We're going to put the Cool Whip in. And we're just going to fold that in. I should save that container for Nana because she uses them as her Tupperware. But anyway, we're just taking it, we're just going to fold it in. That helps keep it nice and fluffy. And it still has retained its green signature color. Right, that's getting there. It's not quite there yet, but it's getting there. But we still got some other stuff to add to it to stir, so I'm not going to over stir it. But you do want to make sure everything's off the bottom and incorporated. All right, next we're going to take, Chris keeps all of his cherry juice. Use it for like meat tenderizers and stuff like that, and then for his marinades for his meats. But next we're going to take some pecans, about a cup, but you can use more if you like them more, less if you like them less. But we're just going to do a rough chop on these. These are our pecans. We have some trees here on the farm, and we grow just about enough for us to use through the year. We don't have a whole lot of extra. But anyway, I'm just going to do a rough chop on these. We're going to add them in to our mixture. I love pecans. I could eat them just raw. Actually, Chris came in the house when I told him to go get me a bag out of the freezer. He came into the house eating them. It's just a good, healthy nut. All right. Then the last thing that we're going to do that gives it a little bit of twist is we're going to add a jar. This is actually a 16-ounce jar of maraschino cherries. I have taken them and I've just sliced them in half. And fair warning, I did wear kitchen gloves because they will discolor your fingers. I love cherries. I love maraschino cherries. How pretty is that color in there? But I love maraschino cherries. I love fresh cherries probably more. Chris and I are big cherry fans. I truly could eat a whole jar, and maybe have ate a whole jar of maraschino cherries right by myself. Probably didn't do my diabetes a lot of good, but did my tummy good. But anyway, we're just going to add in these cherries, and like I said, while you're cutting them up, you will end up with red hands if you're not careful. But who cares, right? All right, let me get my kitchen towel. And then we're just going to take and incorporate this a little bit. And then that is just a beautiful color. But like I said, the redness of the cherries will change the green color a little bit. I'm going to just get this stirred up just a little bit. Kind of fold. Use a folded fashion. And then the last ingredient is probably my least favorite ingredient for this is marshmallows. I am not a marshmallow fan. Are you a marshmallow fan?
I'll eat them a little bit.
Yeah, Chris don't like them too much anyway, so I'm only going to use about 1/4 of a bag, okay? I mean, I'm going to play that by ear, but I just really don't like marshmallows. And this is so light and fluffy and creamy anyway. You really don't have to have a lot of extra to it, but if you're making this for kids, they will love the marshmallows, I'm sure, but I have just never been a marshmallow fan. I like to make homemade marshmallows and I like those better, but as far as just a store-bought, and I like marshmallow cream. One of the best fruit dips I make is just taking marshmallow cream and mixing it with a bar of softened cream cheese and dipping grapes in it, and I keep that all the time. Do you want a few more marshmallows or is that good enough?
That's good.
All right. So anyway, there is your pistachio or Watergate salad with cherries and whipped cream. Come take a taste. Let's see how Mr. Putt likes it. It's good, ain't it?
It's good.
It's very good. All right, this is going to go in the refrigerator and get cooled down for supper. And then we'll be back to go over and do the salmon patties as soon as the vegetables get closer to being ready. So see you back shortly. All right, everything is finished up. We've got our salmon patties. They're all fried up nice and brown and crisp. Chris's turnips, he's got actually 2 layers under here, and we just lightly salted all of them. Then our rutabagas. I'll go ahead and dip up some rutabagas. Got a collard mixed in there with it. My sister-in-law, this grease is still hot. Y'all hear it popping? My sister-in-law, she actually breaks her cornbread up in a bowl and then dips her rutabagas over it. Then we got our collards. Just make sure you don't get a pecan. You actually throw the pecans out. Those look really good.
Or you can save them and let them dry and use them again.
We've never done that.
That's because you always throw them out.
Yeah, I do always throw them out. But anyway, there's a big heaping thing of greens, and the pot liquor in this, the juice is what we call pot liquor. It's actually very, very good too. I'm gonna get us a muffin. There is gonna be our supper plate along with some fried turnips. I'm gonna pick them up with my fingers because it's just me eating. All right, how delicious does that look? That is just a good old-fashioned country meal. And then we're gonna get our dessert. I've got it out. I love estate sales. That's one of my most favorite things to do. Me and my best friend Lynn go to estate sales. So I'm all the time picking up lots of little glassware. And these are some little cute dessert glasses that I bought. Chris's eyes roll every time I come home with a new piece of glassware. But anyway, like I've told you before, eat with your eyes first. So make it pretty. It doesn't take any more time, any more effort to make it pretty. So I've dipped our little pistachio pudding up into these cute little cups. And we're gonna just sprinkle some finely chopped pecans on top. And we're gonna add a stem cherry. How precious is that?
Now the fun thing is see if you can tie that stem cherry
In
in a knot
in your mouth. My sister can do it.
in your mouth with your tongue.
But y'all enjoy this country meal. And until next time, y'all have a very blessed day.